It is time to first get into our discussion of this Western Michigan game. Again, I apologize that I could not get out an immediate post-game reaction like the other channels do because I was at this game and it was a night game in Champaign. And there honestly is more to talk about than I thought that there would be. I thought it would be pretty easygoing the whole way. The final score certainly does tell that story, but that's not exactly what happened. To be fair, there are definitely some notes to be made in this game, even though it was more of a tune up game before the Big Ten schedule starts. There were definitely some interesting things. Again, overall, great. I mean, 38 to nothing, right? The average not Illinois fan is just going to look at that score and go, okay, they killed them like they were supposed to. The line was 27 and a half, and they covered. They're 3-0 against the spread as well this season. So, I mean, they haven't really had a problem burying these opponents, including Duke, which they weren't really supposed to bury in the sense that they did. But the first half was certainly a scare. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was pretty disappointed with how they looked in the first half from the bleachers in the upper deck. They only led 10-0 at the half, and it was very, very likely to be a one-score game at the half. Had it not been for a huge goal line stand, Western had the ball pretty much at the 2-yard line, first and goal, and the Illini were able to stop them 4 straight plays. And the last play of the first half, actually, was a 4th and goal play. Western tried to run a tight end sweep. Michael Brescia was the ball carrier, the tight end, and it was Kenana Odeluga who made the stop. He was stepping up for Dylan Royzik since they sat him out. I mean, he was hurt. They didn't sit him out, but you know what I mean. It made sense to not play him against Western with Indiana coming up, just making sure that he's ready for Indiana. So Odeluga really stepped up in his shoes, and he made that big stop on 4th and goal. He really was the only man that Brescia had to beat. He made that stop, held the shutout, and Western didn't even get close to scoring after that point. That really was the turning point of the game. They came running off a field in the locker room. They were hyped. The crowd was hyped. And from then on, I mean, the second half was total destruction, right? The defense didn't really struggle in the first half, right? It's not fair to say that the whole team was kind of lackluster. That was really the only drive that they let up. Western did actually outgain them in the first half too, which was a very alarming point of focus. But the offense certainly figured it out in the second half, right? They came out, literally first possession. They got it 3 and out, and then instantly got the ball, scored a touchdown, is Allmeyer rushing touchdown. And from then on, just the whole script changed, and they ended up killing them like they were supposed to. But again, they really only did it in the second half. And this is not the first time we've seen this already from this team. This is exactly how they played Duke, right? They were up 1 at the half to Duke, and that ended up being a blowout. So that definitely seems to be the trend. It's harder to find trends when you're just 3 games in, and that first game I feel like doesn't even really count. Western Michigan is not a tough opponent, right? They're supposed to kill them, but they are still leagues ahead of where Western Illinois was. So, I mean, there's still decent, and that competition is still decent competition on that scale when you're comparing them to an FCS team. So this was certainly, though, still it was a tune-up is honestly what it was. Let's be real here, but not in that kind of sense, right? The defense was fantastic start to finish. Again, I don't want to knock them because they pitched a shutout. It was fantastic. Let's see here. I already said a lot of the notes that I actually wrote. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, Western especially struggled in the passing game too, going more off the defense. Right. Their starter, Brock Lowry, he was 10 of 16 for just 78 yards. They did put in Brady Jones. He's a backup for a couple plays. I noticed him on the field. I wasn't as really sure as to why. I didn't know if it was an injury or what. I didn't really catch what it was. You do miss some things when you're there live at the game. So someone who watched on TV would be able to like let me know what happened. Because I don't know why he came in, but he came in, he went 3 for 8 for 13 yards. And then Lowry came back in at the end of the game. So he wasn't like benched necessarily. That was only 91 yards total between those two quarterbacks. They held him under 100 yards. The run game did get over 100 for them. They had 113, led by Ofa Matele. I don't think I said that right. He only had 46 yards though on 8 carries. Their carries were very spread out. That was also the most carries that anyone got for them. They really didn't give someone the ball a whole lot. It was very, very spread out. They had like 7 or 8 guys rack up like 4 or more carries. So offensively, I mean, the big story here, at least for me, was the run game, right? Aiden Lawfrey did not play in this game, right? He left that Duke game early with an injury, and then I don't want to say healthy scratch because he wasn't healthy. He's hurt, but there's just no need to risk his health against Western Michigan when you've got Indiana waiting in the wing, if you know what I mean. And that was proven because Fagan and Khalil Valentine absolutely held it down in his absence. And I completely agree with the decision to not play him, to not play Dylan Roysick, because there's just no need to rush them back for this game. I mean, no disrespect to the Western Michigan program. I have the utmost respect for them. However, I think when you have with where their program is at right now and where Indiana is at right now, it was a smart decision. You did not need those guys to win this game at all. And that was proven on the field, right? So Caden Fagan led the run game then. He was the clear feature back without Lawfrey present. He had 20 carries, 100 yards, and a touchdown on the ground, and he was complemented very well by Khalil Valentine, who got 10 carries of his own for 63 yards and a touchdown. He did miss some time. He did get hurt and then come back into the game later in the fourth quarter. He injured himself probably early third quarter, but it was already kind of looking like a blowout. So especially by the time they got him back in the fourth quarter, I'm not really sure why they decided to get him back in, but that is when he scored his touchdown. Actually, was post injury. So I mean, you'll take it. I mean, I really wasn't for risking that, like I wasn't for the guys who were already hurt coming in the game. They also got a rush TD from Altmaier as well to help them out on the ground. Passing game, Altmaier was very good again. It was certainly his slowest game, but they relied a lot more heavier on the run, actually, without Lawfrey in this one. He was 17 of 26, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, bit of a slow first half, right? Missed a couple throws, right? Some miscommunications for sure. That definitely got cleaned up in the second half. The leading receiver 3 weeks running is Hank Beatty, not quite as dominant as he was in the first 2 games. 6 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown. Led the receivers. Ashton Hollins got involved as well. I was excited to see that. He had 2 catches for 41 yards and a touchdown, and they were on back-to-back plays as well. He caught a big catch, and then they just went right back to him once he got them near the goal line. I'm glad that they rewarded him there. Hudson Clement had 2 catches as well, 31 yards. Bowick Oge had 1 catch. It was a 13-yard catch, and then he did leave the game early due to injury. I will have an update on that later. The only tight end reception, and we're never beating the blocking tight end allegations. 1 reception for all the tight ends was Cole Rusk. He had -1 yards on that catch. So yeah, again, let's not beating those allegations anytime soon. Excuse me. I'm a lot better than I was last week. If you watched when I was sick and had to delay the episode a day, I'm doing a lot better, but there's still a little build up there. So I do apologize if I pause a little more than I usually do. On the defensive end, of course, there really isn't too much to say. They're just an absolute force. They dominated a good defense, dominated a bad offense is what it was. Again, Kanena Odeluga, absolutely huge, stepping up without Dylan Roysick. 4 tackles and half a tackle for a loss. Of course, one of those came on the fourth good goal stop, which in my opinion, without a doubt, was the biggest play of the game, right? Because as I said, the tide just turned. The vibes going into halftime were just much better. I was really down. So were a lot of the other fans. This was a sellout, and you're only up by 10 on a team you're supposed to beat by 27. And then that just changed everything, right? And that is what not only helped preserve their shutout because they didn't even get close in the second half, but just really, really glad to see him step up, right? I always love to see dudes who don't get as many reps fill his shoes, and he did that perfectly. This team's depth is unbelievable. Matthew Bailey had 6 tackles as well. They were all solo tackles. Miles Scott, 6 tackles, 4 of them solo. Leon Lowry Jr. really stepped up as well. 4 tackles, 3 of them solo. He also had a sack, and 2 those tackles were for a loss. So he was really making some impact plays on the defensive end. Xavier Scott was good as well. 3 tackles, 1.5 of those for a loss. He did leave in the fourth quarter with an ankle injury. I do have an update on that as well later on. I mean, at first glance, it looked pretty bad, honestly. He was down like on this right next to the sideline. And it made me a little worried because he couldn't get up, right? Like all you have to do really is just roll over to get on the sideline. And he wasn't doing that at first. After a couple minutes, though, he was able to walk to the medical tent under his own power. And he did not return to the game, which, again, I agree with. Pat Farrell had a sack as well, and Gabe Yakus and Alec Bryant split a sack. So Yakus is now at 3.5 sacks through 3 games. And the special teams, it was pretty quiet overall. David Olano was 1 of 1. He hit a 28-yard field goal. That's the only rep he got other than extra points. And then Keelan Crimmins, he did have 4 punts, again, because the first half was a little slow, for 186 total yards. I mean, he looked good. You don't want to see much of your punter, and honestly, we didn't. I don't think 4 punts is 4 punts is not that much. Yeah, I mean, he quietly had a good game as far as good games for punters go. I feel like any good game for a punter is good, pretty quiet, but yeah, no, overall, my experience was really good too, right? I always love going to Memorial Stadium. The Geese Memorial Stadium banners, I talked a little bit on last week's episode about. If you need more information, check out my video about Geese Memorial Stadium, or the Memorial Stadium renaming, as I think it's called on the channel. Those banners are absolutely everywhere because it was the first game post-donation. I don't really care. Some people are up in arms about that, but hey, really changed the name. The dude donated $100 million. Let the man do what he wants, okay? Yeah, the upper deck, I had upper deck seats and on the bleacher side, and it was pretty great. It's a little narrow up there, but I don't really care. Some people might, but I'm just not really too big when it comes to those things. If I could see the game, fine. I don't really care, and I could. It was a great view, good little aerial view. It was a sellout as advertised. There was not an empty seat around me. The only empty seats I could see in the stadium were in the student section, which did make me a little disappointed. And especially there were some Western Michigan fans that were sitting in front of us. They were pretty funny. Like it was all good fun for the most part. But they were pointing out that there weren't a lot of students there when the game started, and a lot of the students also left before the game ended. Which I get that a little more, right? I mean, I'm a stay till the game's over kind of guy. But that's just who I am when it comes to sports. But I mean, I don't judge if you're gonna leave early at a blowout like this, right? I don't really care. I'm not gonna be leaving, but I don't super mind. But I think when your team is ranked 9th in the country, you should at least show up on time, right? And you should at least sell out that student section, because the student season tickets are sold out. All right, so there's a bunch of students that didn't show up, and that's really sad, especially when you've got a bunch of alumni or even just fans like myself. I'm not even an alum. They're packing the whole rest of the stadium, and the student section's empty. That's disappointing to see. So real quick, so that we can talk about the rest of the stuff, because man, I'm yapping. Sorry, it was a great night. My shining Illini. Before we get into it, the third star was Leon Lowry Jr. Again, 4 tackles, 3 solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for and lost. My second star, Kanena Odeluga, mostly because he stepped up. He made that big play on 4th and goal. That was the play of the game, and he really filled the shoes of our missing defensive captain. And then the first star, I have to give to Caden Fagan. 100-yard performance, touchdown on the ground. He was speedy. He was running over guys. He was everything he wanted in a running back on Saturday night.